Hi everyone, welcome back for another episode of Adams for the Love of Movie Picks. Sorry about the delay there, folks, or the break, whatever you want to call it, but the holidays were on and I just decided to take a break from doing videos. We're back now in the new year. Happy New Year to everybody. Welcome to 2023. And we're almost at 2 years of my channel. For those of you that are subscribed or that watch, I appreciate you sticking with me. So for the first video of 2023, we're going to do a threefer. We're going to talk about the Mummy Trilogy. So you got the Mummy Returns, and Mummy Tomb of the Dragon Emperor. Now, I excluded from this list the 2017 The Mummy with Tom Cruise, mainly because it doesn't tie in with these three. And also, no offense, it wasn't really that good. I think the original Mummy with Boris Karloff back in the 1930s was better, in my opinion. But yeah, for that matter, we're just talking about these three that are related to each other. So the original Mummy was from 1999. The Mummy Returns is 2001, and the Mummy Tomb of the Dragon Emperor is 2008. And it's hard to believe that the original one was 24 years ago, followed up by 22 years ago for the second one, and then 2008, which would have been 15 years ago. That is just crazy. I can still remember all these movies coming out when they were brand new. So the Mummy franchise, for the most part, so the first two especially, really star the same main characters. So you got Brendan Fraser as Rick O'Connell, Rachel Weisz as Evelyn Carnahan, later becomes Evelyn O'Connell. You got John Hannah as Jonathan Carnahan, Arnold Vosloo as Imhotep. Jonathan Hyde is in the first one. Oded Fair as Ardith Bey. So excluding Jonathan Hyde, all the ones that I mentioned so far are in the first two. And then there's a couple of them that are in all three of them. They changed up Evelyn's character from Rachel Weisz to Maria Bello for number 3. And Oded Fair is not in the third one as well. But yeah, they've still got, and of course, Arnold Vosloo is in it because Imhotep isn't in the third one. But John Hannah and Brendan Fraser are both reprised their roles in all three movies. And I'm just having a look here at the first one if there's anybody else well-known in this that you might recognize. Not really seeing anybody. So basically the first two really center around Imhotep. So for the first one, you've got basically the storyline. So what I like about this movie is the franchise, especially the first movie, is it's got that kind of old school feel to it. Like it's almost like the 1930s Mummy movie with Boris Karloff, but it's got a new school kind of way of doing the movie that makes it really unique in the way that they do it. So basically it's set in the 1920s, which is a really famous time in real life in Egyptology. A lot of famous discoveries are made in Egypt around that time, so it's just kind of fitting that they made it in that time period. So basically, the legend is, Imhotep, back in ancient times, basically was sleeping with the pharaoh's mistress. He was the pharaoh's high priest, and basically was condemned to this curse, where he's basically buried alive. And it's said that if he's ever brought back to life, he will bring a plague upon the earth. So of course he's brought back to life, and it's up to Rick O'Connell and Evelyn and her brother Jonathan, and of course Ardith Bey, who's a magi, which is like they've basically been assigned to guard Imhotep's tomb and try and prevent him and a bunch of other magi to prevent Imhotep from being raised. So basically they all work together to put Imhotep back in the ground, or send him back to hell, whatever you want to say. In the second one, so they don't accidentally raise Imhotep. Basically, Imhotep is raised by followers of his to battle the Scorpion King, and basically gain control of the army of Anubis to take over the earth. in the second one, the Scorpion King is this is the movie debut of a very well known and famous actor nowadays. He was more known for wrestling back then, The Rock. This was actually his first role in a movie. So, it was very minor, and you see him a little bit at the beginning, and he's kind of there at the end. So, I mean, it was minimal at the same token, but then he got his own standalone movie, The Scorpion King, which is really like his first major, role and, lead role in a movie. And I thought he did it fantastic. I'm just having a look here to see if there's anybody else in the second one that, besides Dwayne the Rock Johnson. Oh yeah, Adewale. I can never say this guy's name. Adewale Agbeje. Oh God, you'd recognize him more than you probably recognize the name just looking at him. He plays a character called Lochnaw. Other than that, I don't think there's any other well-known actors that are introduced in this one that you'd recognize. So just having a quick look through here. So and then of course. Imhotep. So Imhotep is, woken or resurrected to take on the Scorpion King, and of course, Rick, Evelyn, now their son Alex that they have, as well as Jonathan and Ardith, are set to, put both of them back in the ground, basically. The one thing I forgot to mention, actually, sorry, about all three of these films, as well as being great action films and having a great storyline, and the plots to them all make sense and are really well done. They actually have some really funny moments in it too. I think it was brilliant choosing Brendan Fraser as this role, because he has the right kind of humor for this role. He brings a lot of humor to this role, and it kind of completes the movie. It brings it's one of those rare movies, in my opinion. I'm not saying it's the perfect movie, but it's a complete movie in the sense of it brings a little bit of everything to the table and makes it really interesting and fun to watch. All three of them are really good, in my opinion. I kind of am partial to the second one the most, by a hair over the first one, just because it's got a bit more of a storyline, and I think the humor in it is better as well. And then moving on to the final movie, The Mummy: Tomb of the Dragon Emperor. Which is unfortunate they could not reprise Rachel Weisz's role as Evelyn, but I think Maria Bello does an honorable job playing her. And then, of course, you introduce Jet Li as the bad guy. The first movie the first of the Mummy movies that doesn't have Imhotep as the main bad guy. He plays a Chinese mummy, if you will. Michelle Yeoh is Ji Wan. And of course, John Hannah's back at it. You got Luke Ford playing the now grown-up Alex O'Connell. Isabel Leong is Lynn. Just having a look here to see if there's anybody else in this. I can't remember what he's in, but I've seen him in other movies. Liam Cunningham as Maguire. And I think that's pretty much the extent of the well-known actors in this, and new actors as well. So, similar storyline to the original ones, except this one here, it's now, so I forgot to mention, sorry, so like I said, the first movie was set in the 1920s, the second movie was in the 1930s, this movie is many years later in the 1950s. Evelyn and Rick are pretty much, they've helped out during World War II, that they basically now are almost pretty much retired from government and, adventures and what have you. But they're tasked with this one last role of bringing this Eye of Shangri-La back to the Chinese people on behalf of the Empire of Britain. And so, as a show of good faith. Well, this Eye of Shangri-La apparently contains a... Shangri-La in this movie contains this pool of liquid that's a source of immortality. And there's a drop of it inside this Eye of Shangri-La that is used to wake the Emperor. So the Emperor basically, was conquered all of Asia more or less, and wanted to find the source of immortality. And the Ji Wan character is, falls in love with his main general, even though the Emperor wanted for herself. And wanted her to show him the source of the immortality, to make him immortal, because the one thing he couldn't conquer was death. and she cursed him and his entire army. So then, yeah, she basically took the immortality for herself, so that along with her daughter, so that they could guard the emperor's tomb. Well, unfortunately, their son Alex, well, he doesn't really resurrect the mummy, but he finds his tomb, brings the emperor out, and then these followers of his in the modern day bring him back to life by stealing the Eye of Shangri-La. And, you know, it's basically, if he gets over the Great Wall, he's immortal and he cannot be beaten. They manage, you know, and then it's up to them to put him down, and they do their job. And it's, you know, it's a watchable movie for sure. Again, some good laughs, good storyline, and a fitting conclusion, I think, to the Mummy Trilogy. So there you are, folks. If you have not seen any of the Mummy movies, do yourself a favor. I don't think you'll be disappointed. It's pretty much suitable for all ages. I mean, there's a bit of violence in there, a little bit of language, but I mean, for the most part, you know, almost any age can watch these movies. So yeah, there you are, folks. You can pretty much pick them up wherever movies are sold. I'm pretty sure they're available on some streaming platforms. And there we are, folks. There's the first video of 2023. I hope to be getting back to my regular schedule of one movie, you know, every week, usually on the Sunday. And yeah, have yourselves a good one, folks. Take care. We'll see you next week.